My name is H.A. Goodman, and I'm an author, columnist, and journalist. And to read my writing and to see my latest CNN appearances and my MSNBC appearances, you can go to hagoodman.com. In this segment, we're going to discuss a breakthrough. A breakthrough today in the email fiasco, Hillary Clinton's email fiasco, and the FBI investigation. And this breakthrough comes from the State Department. Okay, this is not sources close to friends of people who know the FBI state that Clinton is going to be exonerated. This was the Washington Post headline from several weeks ago that Clinton supporters were dancing in the streets about. No, 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 Hillary bots. No, no, Hillary supporters, you must listen. Listen very intently, because the State Department today stated that Hillary Clinton broke rules. This completely undermines her convenience excuse. Why? Because the entire excuse for owning a private server, for Hillary Clinton owning a private server, was this. It was convenient. So she stated that it was convenient. It was for convenience. It wasn't to hide anything, of course. It was only for convenience, and that the State Department allowed it. So why not? Why not just use a private server for convenience? Of course, the State Department allowed it. Now they said today, in 2016, today they stated it broke State Department rules. Here's the quote from the CNN article. State Department Inspector General report, quote, at a minimum, Secretary Clinton should have surrendered all emails dealing with department business before leaving government service. And because she did not do so, she did not comply with the department's policies that were implemented with the Federal Records Act. The rats are abandoning ship, ladies and gentlemen. This is a huge, huge deal, and it just confirms everything I've been saying. Why? They just stated right now, the State Department just stated that she broke rules. Her entire excuse was that she was following the rules and that she was above board. That quote states that Clinton broke the rules, and that the State Department rules actually correlated to laws. So every guideline or rule at the State Department pertaining to handling classified information or top secret information, including information that could be retroactively classified, that's another issue. All of these guidelines or rules at the State Department correlate to laws. They correlate also to Espionage Act laws. Why? Because if somebody is stupid enough to store 22 top secret emails on a private server, that's an example of gross negligence. If you can be prosecuted under the Espionage Act because of gross negligence. President Obama already stated that Clinton was careless. Now the State Department stated that she broke rules. So let's talk about what the qualified Secretary of State, qualified for president. Let's continue with the report. The State Department is covering its behind. Why? The report continues with Inspector General report, quotes, 2 staff members in the Office of Information Resource Management in 2010 discussed their concerns about Secretary Clinton's use of a personal email account in separate meetings with the director of their office. So there were already questions pertaining to Hillary Clinton's use of a private server. Already questions back in 2010. What happened? The report goes on to say, the State Department report goes on to say, according to the staff members, the director stated that the secretary's personal system had been reviewed and approved by State Department legal staff, and that the matter was not to be discussed any further. Okay. So people questioned Clinton's use. They were told to be quiet because somebody approved it. Now in 2016, and by the way, emails have a tendency of disappearing at the State Department, or documentation has a tendency of disappearing, because 4 years of Brian Pagliano's emails have disappeared. No documentation. Brian Pagliano is the man who set up Clinton's server. Now, so we just learned that people complained and they were told it was above board. In 2016, the report notes, I'm quoting the CNN article, the report notes that interviews with officials from the Undersecretary of Management and the Office of the Legal Advisor found, quote, no knowledge of approval or review by other State Department staff. Okay, so there's no documentation, and people apparently don't know that Hillary Clinton's email server was signed off by anyone at the State Department. This completely blows apart and destroys the foundation of Clinton's excuse, the excuse pertaining to why Clinton owned a private server. Indictments are imminent. You didn't even need intent to indict Hillary Clinton because under the Espionage Act, like I stated, gross negligence is enough to prosecute. Now there's intent because the State Department today just stated she broke rules, number one, and number two, they can't find documentation of anyone signing off on the server. I hope you're listening, Brian Fallon, and the Clinton campaign, and Hillary Clinton, and Hillary supporters everywhere who love me. And I'll get to that in a little bit. There's going to be a lot more H.A. Goodmans out there. Okay, aren't you happy, Hillary supporters? There are going to be copies of me everywhere. You're going to be reading articles where before you thought, oh, that's H.A. Goodman, he's crazy. Everyone is going to write articles with the headlines that I write and about the email fiasco. And I'll get to the editorial board of the Washington Post, who wrote an article that you'd think I would have written. That article, I'll get to that. But it was completely slamming Hillary Clinton pertaining to the whole email fiasco. And it's exactly what I've been saying. So you're going to see a lot more people like H.A. Goodman, a lot more people who are saying that Clinton can't be trusted, that she completely messed up. And eventually they'll say that the indictments are imminent. And once the indictments hit, they'll explain why she deserves these indictments. So everything will come full circle, Hillary supporters. It'll all come full circle back to me and back to everything that I've been saying. Isn't that great? The next thing is this. I mentioned that the rats are abandoning ship, that people are covering their behind. The CNN article goes on to say, Clinton has long maintained she had permission to use the personal servers. So she had long maintained that she was given permission. I explained just now that that excuse is completely torn apart. She wasn't given permission because there's no documentation at the State Department. Nobody can find anyone who signed off on Clinton's private server. And the State Department report today states that she broke rules. Very simple. The next issue is that she gave herself permission. She gave herself permission. So Hillary Clinton shouldn't even have been Secretary of State. And this is not just my opinion. It was also the viewpoint of Christopher Hitchens, who was a great inspiration to me. And I'll put the link below. There was a Hardball interview. Christopher Hitchens was on Hardball with Chris Matthews, and he was debating Joan Walsh. And I will go ahead and put the link below. And Hitchens foreshadows everything, basically, because he explains that Hillary Clinton had no business being Secretary of State to begin with. She wasn't even qualified then to be Secretary of State, and he was right. She wasn't a good Secretary of State, and she couldn't make it out of her tenure as Secretary of State without an FBI criminal investigation, because she couldn't type an email without scandal. But she essentially gave herself permission because nobody at the State Department signed off on it. Again, the report, I'll quote, the report states, Inspector General's office found no evidence that the Secretary requested or obtained guidance or approval to conduct official business via personal email account on her private server. That's it, Brian Fallon, Clinton campaign. For party unity, you should drop out of the race, like Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency under President Obama, stated on CNN with Jake Tapper. Lieutenant General Flynn was absolutely correct when he stated that. And everything he stated correlates to, quote, Inspector General's office found no evidence that the Secretary requested or obtained guidance or approval to conduct official business via personal email account on her private server. This is from the State Department report. I hope you're listening, progressive writers who don't care about anything. Clinton could go and fly to the Kremlin and give Putin the 22 top secret emails, which he probably has already. So Putin has the 22 top secret emails on Clinton's unguarded private server that was unencrypted for 3 months. And she used cloud servers afterwards. And in one of the emails recently, she told one of her aides to just remove the marking and send information via unclassified channels. Or send classified information via unclassified channels and just remove the marking. So that's another one of the many reasons she'll receive indictments. It doesn't matter if they were talking points. If it was classified, it's classified, for whatever reason. Brian Fallon issued a statement. He actually tried to spin it. This is Clinton's campaign manager. The State Department, the CNN report is titled, State Department report slams Clinton email use. Okay. The Clinton campaign then spun it to state that the report shows just how consistent her email practices were with other secretaries. Okay. Well, Mr. Fallon and all the wonderful Hillary supporters who love me, I want you to listen very closely. Number one, nobody ever signed off at the State Department for Hillary Clinton to use the private server. Number two, there were 22 top secret emails on this private server. In these top secret emails, there was special access program information. Within the special access program information, part of SAP could very well be, and I'll put the Wikipedia link, but part of any special access program information could be government black projects. So a black project is a government defense or military project said not to exist, where the U.S. government denies its existence. Okay? And I'm not laughing. I laugh because the alternative is to cry. A black project exists, correlates to a black site. A black site is where this secretive project takes place that is said not to exist, and that location is nowhere to be found either in any records because the United States government will deny its existence. So the information of the intelligence oftentimes in special access program intelligence is so secretive that the United States government will deny its existence because it's a black project. You've heard of black ops. Well, this correlates with that. Nobody is allowed, only about 10 people or so are given clearance. The Secretary of State is one of these people. Of course, the President is another one of these people. Apparently, people at the FBI and even people at the State Department couldn't even read some of the 22 top secret emails. They had to be explained what's in them from people who have clearance. This was on Clinton's private server that was unencrypted for 3 months. The black projects, or that correlate to black sites, which correlate to intelligence that, or projects, defense or military projects that are denied, that the existence of which is denied by the US government. So it's so secretive that these things don't even exist. No doubt, other countries now know a great deal of this information. It's not speculation. It's not speculation to say that. You're talking about a Secretary of State, the nation's highest diplomat, who used a private server that was unencrypted for 3 months in the basement of her home. We already know that other nations tried to hack into it. The fact that security logs don't show, or apparently security logs don't show hacking attempts were successful, is completely irrelevant, because hackers could hack into a computer without the security log showing. So most likely, the information in the Special Access Program of the 22 top secret emails, most likely that information is already known by enemy nations or nations that aren't friendly to the US or adversaries around the world. Okay? Other secretaries of state did not delete 31,830 emails out of 60,000 emails. Half of Clinton's emails were private. What on earth was she doing? That's another issue, Brian Fallon and the Clinton campaign. What on earth was she doing half the time? Half the time, she's not even doing work. It's about private emails about yoga, which no doubt it's about the foundation or whatever else. Foreign donors, and there's a weapons deal scandal, and there's a foreign donor scandal. And a man named Charles Ortel, who is an investigative journalist, has a huge expose on the Clinton Foundation. So that could very well be what's in those private emails. Why is the Espionage Act? Why are Espionage Act indictments imminent? I'm going a little bit over the time I usually go. They're imminent because now we have intent. The State Department just explained that there's intent involved. Nobody ever signed off. They can't find any records of anybody signing off. And she broke State Department rules. Not convenience. There was an intent to hide. That's why you own a private server to begin with. It's also a crime to delete any government records or classified information. And in the 31,830 emails, you better believe that there are government records there. I talked about the SAP intelligence. Rice and Powell did not have these issues, so you can't say other secretaries of state acted in the same way. You wouldn't even allow a child. You wouldn't even allow a child to give you that excuse. Really quickly, the Washington Post editorial board today, I call them the better late than never editorial board, urged the FBI to finish its investigation soon, so I'm waiting for progressive writers to show outrage, because I wrote that about a month and a half ago, and it was published in the Huffington Post and Salon. Of course, people were outraged. So we'll see if progressive writers are outraged. Quote, Clinton's inexcusable willful disregard for the rules. That's the title. Something I would write. Quote, Ms. Clinton had plenty of warning to use official government communication methods so as to make sure that her records were properly preserved and to minimize cybersecurity risks. She ignored them. Very good, Washington Post editorial board. I'm very proud of you. You're beginning to sound like me. You will see a lot of people who are going to sound like H.A. Goodman. And you're going to see a lot of people pivoting, and you're going to see progressive writers slowly beginning to ask questions. Because if they don't ask questions now, they will look completely foolish. So you will see a pivot even in progressive media. The groupthink is ending, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm speaking to Hillary bots on this one, Hillary supporters. You are going to have to come to terms with the fact that Hillary Clinton broke State Department rules, will be indicted very soon, and you're going to have to rally around Bernie Sanders because the Antichrist, Donald Trump, could win the presidency. So it doesn't matter about delegate count. This has nothing to do with delegate count. Hillary Clinton is facing an FBI criminal investigation, and the State Department just destroyed your excuse. You're done. The Clinton campaign's done. So from here on out, it's just a cascade of new revelations pertaining to Clinton's horrible, atrocious decision-making. I'm only voting for Bernie Sanders in 2016. This is not about delegate count. This is about the most electable Democratic candidate, and that's Bernie Sanders. Thank you so much for listening.